Good evening and thank you for joining us. You're watching Sunday Interview and I'm your host, Grevazio Zulu. Now, calls for the reopening of the University of Zambia Great East Road campus and the Cobalt University have finally been answered. But the conditions under which the two universities are being reopened have raised even more debate than the closure. The Minister of Higher Education has announced cross-cutting measures that government expects will end persistent violent protests at the two public universities. One of them scrapping off meal allowance for the students. The question is, how fair are the measures announced by the minister in Parliament? Are they achievable? I guess this evening is the Minister of Higher Education, Dr. Micheal Kaingu. Minister, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Zambia. Straight
to the issues, Minister. You have decided to reopen the two public universities, UNZA and CBU. A welcome move, but many are saying the conditions you have set are too high. What is the motivating factor behind these conditions?
Well, what is important for us is not to have a repeat of what happened, what led us to the closure of the universities. Therefore, we have put ourselves in a situation where we should not only reopen, but protect the institutions that we are reopening.
The biggest decision out of all these measures that you have announced is scrapping off meal allowances for students. This is very drastic. How can you withdraw such a critical allowance in a sudden manner, Minister?
In fact, Grevazio, yesterday I had a meeting with the management of both universities and the councils or interim committees of both universities. I told them that if they are able to adhere to the first items, 1 to 5, I will reconsider giving back the meal allowance to the students. But if you look at the conditions that we have put, if they will not be able to adhere to, or if the universities will not be able to meet the conditions, then there's a likelihood that the universities will again see the impasse or the riot that we saw.
So this meeting, was it between the universities or the students' unions?
No,
because the meal allowance is being
management and the interim committee of the universities. So the withdrawal of the meal allowance is conditional. If the two universities will be able to meet the other 5 conditions which I have put, then we'll give back the meal allowances to the students.
Are you not negotiating with the wrong people in this case? You've withdrawn an allowance from the students and the other conditions have to be met.
No, then you don't know the conditions. If you knew, you would not say I'm negotiating with wrong people. In fact, there's no negotiation. I'm telling them what they should have done a long time ago. For example, reinforcing the universities. That should have been done a long time ago. There are no universities in the whole world which are so porous. For example, the University of Zambia, you can enter it from an angle that you want. There's no way you can ever protect the life and the infrastructure of that university, as long as the parameter is so easily accessible. Yeah.
So the decision to withdraw meal allowance, you say it's conditional, that the students must pledge not to go on the streets again.
No,
the students.
It's not
one of your conditions.
It's not the students. The universities must meet these conditions. We want me to read you the conditions. That's why I brought my...
You could run through them. Maybe.
Yeah. Number 1 is ensure that sufficient and effective security measures have been put in place to regulate the entry and exit of visitors to the universities. This should include the sealing of all porous points, strictly enforcing the use of students' identity cards, installation of floodlights and security cameras, and a provision of walkie-talkie radio communication to security officers. That's number one. Number two is to ensure that all students are made to sign a commitment form to pledge not to indulge in violent protest. Number three, to ensure that the Office of the Dean of Students designs programs aimed at instilling discipline in students by sensitizing them on social dialogue, nonviolent engagement, and other dispute resolutions. And here I also want to include the lecturers themselves, because the lecturers are the mentors of the students.
You're altering your statement to say it will include lecturers.
Yeah, that's
also
what
to
we
be taught about that.
That's what we discussed yesterday. And four, surcharge all students on government bursary for damage caused to property, both public and private. And number five, all those that were identified and submitted to the ministry, whose names were submitted to the ministry as the ringleaders for the violent protest, should be expelled, as they are inimical to the academic life of the universities. These include students and the lecturers and the staff. So these are the 5 conditions which I've given, and I've just ring-fenced these 5 conditions by putting, or put a caveat, by putting the number 6, that unless that is done, we will not continue with the meal allowances.
What you're saying is the universities have an option. They can fail to meet these things, and you withdraw the meal allowance.
The statement was very clear in Parliament. They don't meet, we don't open.
So where does your caveat on meal allowance come in?
The caveat is not on meal allowance. It's the protection that they have to meet the 5 conditions. I'm protecting. And you see the way you sound and some of the people sound. It's like I've got a stone in the chest. No. You know, I can well assure you that I'm doing this thing to protect the institutions or the infrastructure that we have worked for.
Are you doing this?
To also protect the taxpayers. And for you, Grevazio, I know that you will not understand, because your vehicle has not been stoned. Until your vehicle will one day be involved in a fracas like this one, shall you support me?
Are you doing this, Minister, because government doesn't have money?
It's not a question of whether the government...
You want to run away from paying the meal allowance?
The government will always meet its commitment. Once the government has made this commitment, it may delay, but for sure it will be met.
Is it not correct to say that government triggered this whole thing by delaying to pay the students?
No.
And then you turn around and want to grab the entitlement?
No, it cannot be true. Because the forms which the students sign, the bursary forms, are very clear. That the allowances will be paid only when they are available. So you cannot question the government. You know, if you have been, as you are entering the university, you are told, yes, we shall help you. We shall help you complete your education. We will help you. The government's pledge is to help those who are vulnerable to go through their education by paying the bursary. But you see, we have to be ourselves, to be as, those who are receiving must be as rational as possible. You know, because if the money is not available, and I expect, you know, that you, because I know that all those who are in the university have got their grade 12 certificates, I expect at that level for them to understand how the fiscal policy of government is, that the money can only come from taxpayers. And if the money has not come, the government cannot pay. So simple as that. There's no money, Grevazio. There's no money that sits in the Ministry of Finance account. There's no money like that. The money must be collected and then dispersed.
Does your salary, for argument's sake, Minister, delay as much?
Yes. And I'm not the only one with salary delays in this country.
And you feel students must go on, just learn. They don't have their meal allowance.
And I like that question. I want the students to know that in real life, there are people who wait for 3 months for their salaries. For the third month, that's when they are paid the salary for the first month. There are people like that. And
should government be proud of that?
These are realities. No, the government does not wait. They does not take 3 months. Even the students cannot swear to that. That the government takes 1 month before they can pay the allowance for the other month. No.
You have not addressed the real cause, Minister, by saying you withdraw the meal allowance and you want to put all these stringent measures around the students. The problem, the root cause, is that government delays in paying and meeting its obligations.
No. The root cause is that the students themselves get riotous, even when they know that they were supposed to wait. They were supposed to be patient. That's the root cause. If you and
not
me,
that you delayed to pay.
If you and me enter into a contract, you must see. Both parties must see, observe the conditions in the contract, and the contract that we have entered with the students in the bursary is very clear. We will pay you. We will pay you. Maybe we should do this. I should use the word shall. We shall pay you. We will pay, or we shall pay you.
No matter how long it takes, we shall pay you.
No, we have never delayed for a long time, because we know the consequences also.
Would it be wrong to say, Minister, you're not keen on opening the universities? Because
I'm very keen.
These conditions you've said and the time frame, they do not tally.
You agree with me?
You've said 10th April, Minister, and you are asking for all these expensive ventures to be undertaken.
The
security cars, the floodlights, the security cameras. This is not an easy undertaking for a big institution.
Well, for your information,
the
Commonwealth University, they are already working on this. They might even do this before the 10th of April. And I've told them, as soon as they have done, me and my colleagues will go and inspect. And if we are happy, we'll open it.
The University of Zambia?
I don't know. It's up to them. But this is a university that you can enter even from here. On the foot you go and enter. There's no university like that. There must be security fence.
When did you realize you needed all these things, Minister? You've been Minister for a while now.
It's not me to realize, Grevazio. The management, the council, they should have realized a long time. It's not for me.
Did it have to take the students to push government to realize
Let me agree with
these
you.
things were porous?
Let me agree with you. So now we have to correct this. We can't continue. Because some of the people we're picked are not even students. There was one incident where a mother and her daughter were picked at the time when the students were rioting, because they were, I believe, they were coming from Great East Road through the campus to Kalingalinga, and as they were doing that, they became a victim of a riotous behavior of the students, and they were picked. We have to correct that.
Let's look at, if your decision was taken through withdrawing meal allowances, how much are you saving from that?
It's not a question of saving, Grevazio. It's not a question of, that's not my interest, and that's not the interest of government. The interest of government is to protect the infrastructure that we have given the universities. We can't be so retrogressive. I mean, we build an infrastructure, we give it to the students to learn, and the same students, they destroy the infrastructure. Is that fair? And not only that infrastructure, but they even go to the extent of destroying the property or properties of the people who are paying taxes.
You seem to be changing goalposts in terms of blaming. Now you seem to be blaming that meal allowance is the cause of these problems and you need to withdraw it. According to your statement, that's been abused in the past. And
it's a catalyst. It's a catalyst. It's a catalyst. The students are being engineered by the delayed meal allowances. That's what you are telling me. So then the meal allowance becomes a catalyst. And we will not allow a catalyst to continue so that we can have a normal situation.
Do you remember that at one point you did blame the opposition for causing riots?
Yes, I still blame. There's the impeccable evidence.
There's meal allowance and there's the opposition on the other hand.
You see, there's what we call opportunity infections, you know. When the opposition see what is happening, they write on that. They find an opportunity to write on what the students are complaining about. And the evidence is there, very impeccable.
So it's the opposition pushing the students to riot? Or it's the students realizing they have no food?
Maybe they are working in conjunction. Maybe they are students, and that question is for my colleague in Home Affairs. You know, maybe they are students who are being used by the opposition. And this is the reason why I'm saying these students must be found and be expelled.
You seem to be inclined, but probably that's why people, like you said earlier, you seem to have a stone in your chest.
No.
You just want these students to be punished. Is it probably because they spoke roughly against you?
No.
Or they've said you can't read?
I can't?
Read?
Read what? Read what? How can the PhD fail to read? Read what? Read what?
Read documents, Minister. Do you have a stone in the chest, like you said yourself?
Do
you have something to grind with these students? They must be expelled.
I've been a minister for 10 years. I was at the Minister of Tourism, Environment and Natural Resources. And some of the policies which are still being used are my policies. I'm the one who brought the UNWTO here. I chaired a meeting of ministers in Abuja. How can you say a person that cannot read?
That's what the people are saying. I mean, the students have said.
And
some of the lecturers have said. Coming from a minister who can't read.
Them enjoy that. That's being irrational. People might think, and they're illogical, because how can a person like me fail to read? I was the Minister of Community Development. Some of the programs are still my programs, and the programs have left. Right now I'm working very hard to try and help organize the Minister of Higher Education. How can you say people like that cannot read?
I'll ask you later whether we're seeing the results, but I want you to answer. Do you have a grudge?
Nothing. Against what? And against who? All of us, we have to look at the problem. And this riot is not the first one. And in fact, within a space of 30 days, we have had 2 riots. There was the riot where some people were arrested, and then we closed the universities briefly, and we reopened them. And then this is a riot. Do you want us to continue like that? That's how the people want us to work. You know, you know those institutions, Grevazio, are institutions of higher learning. And we mean exactly that, higher learning. But our children who go there are our future leaders. So they must demonstrate that they are future leaders. You cannot have a homogeneous way of doing things, you know, at that level. People must be able to think different. Not this community thinking that I'm saying.
How many students are being expelled?
I don't know. I've left it to the management. It's not for me.
You did say that a list was submitted to your office as identifying
Yes.
ringleaders. How many have been identified as ringleaders?
Yes, they are going to go through it. So I cannot tell you that they are all going to be expelled. They are going to, I'm sure they have established way of dealing with the students who are inimical to the academic life. They have.
Means so you cannot forget and forgive and move on, start afresh.
It's not
with all your conditions. You've instructed that they must be expelled.
But you have seen
so
also,
it is for you then.
Have you seen also that the people are not remorseful? And we know that it's this just few who are not remorseful. And these are the ones who must reach.
By expulsion?
Yes.
What do you mean? What do you mean when you say they're not remorseful?
We can see. I mean, we know that we read their statements. We read their statements. You mean somebody who writes in the Post newspaper and says, you see, University of Anyoko, that person is remorseful.
They must go.
No, I haven't. For me, I've said to the management of them, to the Senate of the university, deal with them.
You're very straight and explicit in that statement. Must be expelled. So it's nothing like dealing with them. It's expulsion, isn't it?
Yeah, but they must go through the process. Then they can. The Senate can still come back to me and say, we have not found them with a case to answer. But I want you to know that there are about 5 sources who have submitted similar names to the minister. 5 sources. So there's no way all the 5 sources could be wrong.
5 sources, including the university management?
No. Outside the university management.
So why are not getting these names from the university management? They should know better.
No, we are working on it. I will submit these same names. I will submit them to the management, and I would want them to go through the established channel of dealing with the ailing students.
One issue that has come up, Minister, is that people are attacking you now in your individual capacity as minister, as pushing for this agenda, pushing for the agenda of scrapping off the meal allowance.
I'm the minister. Grevazio. You are the minister.
Are you a capitalist who doesn't believe in the proper social principles that the party yourself stands on?
Actually, this party I work for came into power on a proper. But people should not abuse the policies. Just because the party has come with a policy, instead of appreciating the policy, they want to take an advantage of the policy and destroy infrastructure that is given to them.
So you do not believe in this proper policy? You probably
I do.
Coming from a party that advocates free market policies, capitalists.
Even those, even capitalist states like USA, there are still some policies of pro-poor. You know the Obama medical scheme.
The meal allowance is protected by the statutory instrument. Are you amending that?
Yes. If it will have come to that. What I'm asking the university is to meet the conditions which I've put in my statement. 1 to 5 conditions. and the failure to meet those conditions, we might remove the meal allowance.
I want you to put it in black and white, Minister. Your announcement probably was. Was it blown out of context?
No, I think
if you heard the headlines or anything, this statement was government scraps meal allowance.
Yes, and they see it.
But you are saying you have not scrapped per se until they fail to meet the conditions. That's when you scrap it. Is that the correct position?
Yes, that's the correct position.
But you have not removed meal allowance.
We have removed the meal allowance conditionally. 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 If the universities, the 2 universities, do not meet the 5 conditions which I have put, then there will be no meal allowance. Because, as I've stated here, this is because the payment of meal allowances have been abused and has, for over the years, been a source of unrest at the 2 universities.
Minister, you've said if they do not meet the conditions, they will not reopen.
They will not reopen.
So there are 2 conditions here.
In fact,
they will not reopen if they do not meet the conditions.
What we are doing,
they will have no meal allowance.
Let me put it this way. Let me put it this way to you, Grevazio. We are working, as a ministry, we are working with the 2 universities to make sure that what transpired on the 3rd of February should not repeat itself. So it's not a question of, it's not a crow that we are talking about. We are talking about the university. So we are working together. And you agree with me that the University of Zambia, for example, is too porous. Don't you agree with me? That we should not pick all the students when there are problems like that. Therefore, we must put floodlights so that we can spot an erring student. Don't you agree with me that we must put a camera that we should be able to say, no, it's not 10, but that single, that individual is the one who has actually caused problems. That's what we want. I'm helping the students so that in the future, the policemen do not need to go, the policemen do not need to follow the students to the rooms. Even when they run away, all we will do is say, okay, fine, let's play the CCTV, and we will see for ourselves. That's what we want to do. And the other one is for them to pledge that they will not again involve themselves in a riotous behavior. That's another one. That's a commitment that they have to sign as they enter the university. The other one is that they must be surcharged because we have to repair what they destroyed.
So which part of the bursary is being surcharged? You've said students on bursary will be surcharged.
All of them. All of them. But we have been magnanimous enough as a ministry to continue paying tuition allowance, accommodation allowance, project allowance, book allowance. The only one that we threaten to withdraw is the meal allowance.
Threatened to withdraw?
Yeah.
Not withdrawn?
Not yet. I mean, all these things.
So people can sleep peacefully knowing very well the meal allowance is intact unless the university fails to meet the condition.
Yes. Let me put
in which case they will not fail because they will not reopen.
I love that. No, I'm sure they want to reopen the universities.
So which means the meal allowance stands?
Come again? Which
means the meal allowance is intact for the students.
Well, we will know only about the 10th of April whether they have met the conditions or not. I think what will be fundamental is the day when the investors will say to us, come and inspect and verify. Only then shall we make a final statement. So let me put it there. I'm threatening to withdraw. If these 5 conditions are not met, Grevazio will not continue with the meal allowance.
For now, the meal allowance starts.
Because they are not in, yes, we'll continue the meal allowance because they are not in the university. For your information. Until
the universities fail to meet the condition, then they could lose that. But, Minister, there are other issues that have caused riots apart from the meal allowance. We've got sanitation, we've got issues of lecturers, we've got book allowance, all these. How are you addressing these?
You see, let me help those who don't understand, even those who think that I can't read. You know, that the university is run by two administration. The Senate for academic life, the Council for the general management of the university. So the question that you are asking is not for the ministry. The question that you are asking is for the council.
There are issues which are part of the budget. You pay for the accommodation. You pay for the allowances, the other allowances.
We do.
So if you default and they riot, you withdraw that.
Well, let's cross.
Is that the route government is taking?
Let's cross.
If government fails to pay,
let's cross that bridge when we reach it. At the moment, what we are discussing that there are 5 conditions which have been put. If you have seen here, there's only 5 conditions, Grevazio. The other one is just riding on the 5 conditions. The withdrawal for the allowance. So you cannot tell me whether I will withdraw the tuition allowance. Because see, if
they riot over tuition, you withdraw it.
Well, the tuition is paid to the university director, not to the student.
If they riot over book allowance and project allowances, you withdraw that.
In fact, I want you to understand that the government, and this government that has worked so hard to improve the tertiary education in the country, is trying its level best to provide for everybody who is vulnerable. It's not easy. Probably we are the only country that is doing that, even in the region. Now, for you to ask me a question, if it's a riot over the books, you see, you are already talking about the entitlement syndrome that we are talking about. We are entitled. We are entitled. There's nobody who should talk like that. Life is not that simple. People must know that even as a student, death will not wait until you complete your school. We want to get the benefits of being in school, not for them.
Before they die.
Is that not inevitable? So it's nothing, because the way you are looking at the life here, and even our students, the way they look at life, is that the life will allow us to go through our education until we graduate. That's when we can contribute to the nation, or national cake, or the national economy. It's nothing like that. Even where they are, they must contribute. Life will not wait for you. Life does not give chance.
We have really the vulnerable people that are really poor. They're orphans. They've no one to help them. Did you think about them when you were issuing this?
These are the ones who are paying for Grevazio. These are the ones who are paying for. These are the ones who are stealing people's vehicles.
You have facts about them?
Impeccable. You haven't seen that the university infrastructure is destroyed. You haven't heard that there are people who have lost their vehicles.
You're so sure it's the vulnerable. It's the people that you're really helping.
What are you asking? You are asking who we are paying for. We are paying for those who are vulnerable. And these are the ones who are rioting because the meal allowance has been delayed. So it's them.
You do not agree that your bursary system is so porous that you have people that can afford on the scheme?
It's a scheme, like you have said. There are those who enter it at 25%. There are those who enter it at 75%. And there are those who are poorest of the poor who enter it at 100%.
In your statement in Parliament, you stated that you received a representation from various stakeholders to reopen the university. Do you blame people if they accuse you of not wanting to open and waiting for them to really push you to open?
I've always wanted to open the university. In fact, I'm on record. I regretted the action
of closing
the
university.
Yes, but if, in case you don't know, if the university, and it's there in the Senate regulation, if the university has no academic life, has suspended academic life because of some incident for 3 days, that university has closed itself. So what I was doing myself as a minister of higher education was just to seal the decision that had been made by the student. You remember that at the Cooperative University, they said they will not go back to class until their colleagues were released. Now you are aware, Grevazio, that the Minister of Higher Education is not the one who arrests the students. You are aware that the Minister of Education is not the one who tries the students. So when they give a condition like that, it means they don't want to go back to class. Here, we paid them for about 53 or 59 days meal allowance, much more than they were actually entitled, because we had paid much in advance. But they said, no, we will not go back to class until the whole allowances, the whole allowance has been paid. So they were not willing to go back to class.
You were forced to close.
Huh?
You were forced to close the universities.
No, I just agreed with them that there was no academic atmosphere.
Let's look at the loan scheme that you've spoken about, loan and scholarship scheme. You spoke about it in Parliament as well. How far are you in establishing this scheme?
Well, it's almost done. It's a pity that I could not present it in Parliament this sitting, but be rest assured that it will be done in the next sitting.
When you say it's almost done, what are you telling the people?
It's done. We are now waiting. It has passed through the Minister of Justice. It's now coming to the Committee of Registration of Ministers. Once it passes through there, it will come to Cabinet. And from Cabinet, I will present it in Parliament.
You will present it before Parliament is dissolved?
I assure you that.
Why are we taking long on such a very important bill, Minister? We're trying to clean up the university system.
We have to look at nitty-gritty.
But we're taking too long to implement a system that should really help us.
I can tell you that I've done my level best. The thing has been protracting for a long time. I can tell you that. And it's in my time that it will be presented in Parliament. And we are looking at nitty-gritty. It's not easy to be able to know who will qualify and how we will trace that one all the way to the time we complete school, the time he starts working, and the time he starts paying. So we have to clean it up.
So what does this entail? In a nutshell, the bill, what does it talk about? I know it's loan and scholarship. What are some of the details, the salient features of the bill?
All the people who seek to borrow money from that board will have to apply. And when they apply, I'm sure, like every other institution, they will be assessed, and the money will be advanced to them. I think progressively it will not be a lump sum. So as you progress, when you do the first term and you do well, there's a report from the university, they'll continue. But what you're asking me is your operationalization of the bill. I'm not the one who is going to operationalize it. I'm coming with a policy. And once the policy is done, the operationalization is for my colleagues who are in the board.
What measures are you putting in place to ensure that this scheme, like any other, is not abused by people? That it's a success
again,
after all. When it's running, again, this thing must succeed.
Again, it will be to our colleagues who will be appointed on the board to make sure that it's not abused.
Are there studies that have been done to look at learning points,
yes,
or good examples, Africa and abroad?
Yes, yes. We have been to South Africa. Our people have been to South Africa, have been to Kenya, have been to Uganda, Ghana. We have compared and contrasted to see where our colleagues have failed and where they have achieved. And we have come up with a Zambian situation. And we have now crafted something we think will work for the country.
Zambian model?
Yes.
Does this cover all the universities besides
our intention
and CBU? Or will start with?
Our intention is for all those who have qualified to do tertiary education to access, regardless whether they are private, they are going to private universities or private colleges. That's the intention. But maybe it has to grow. Again, this is operational. We have to look at who will access. But it will not be restricted only to the 2 universities, like the bursary is being implemented.
So this should be a very big fund, huge fund, revolving fund.
Yes, yes. It will not only be the government alone who will be participating. The government will put in money. There will be money that will be collected at the revolving fund that will be coming in. There will be other people, interested parties, private holdings, or private sector, the banks, they might put in the money.
So this will run on a PPP foundation?
No.
Public-private partnership?
It is going to be an entity on its own. It's a standalone, but it will be able, as a board corporate, it will be able to borrow, it will be able to give out, just like any board corporate.
I want to ask you one question we seemingly overlooked on the other side. When you put in place all these measures at these universities, how far do you intend to go in monitoring the students?
It's not me who should monitor the students. Once I start doing that, then the whole system has collapsed at the universities. We have management.
Let's look at the problem at the 2 universities. You're taking too long, Minister, to address the other concerns at the universities, which include date, you have poor staffing levels, inadequate facilities. All these now move away from the university and fall on you as a minister and the Minister of Education, Higher Education.
How can we attend to these things when in an environment that is being created by the students? Every time we want to move, then we have to go back and repair. Yeah? We have to repair what has been damaged. Every time we want to sit down and create a situation that would help the investors. We are hearing there's a ghost law, we are hearing there's a what. How do we help?
The last time you sat in this chair, Minister, if I remember very well, you did state that you were the messiah the universities had been waiting for to be cleaned up.
Those words should have been yours.
I did ask, are you the messiah? You said yes.
Those words should have been yours.
You were the one the sector had been waiting for to clean up these universities and put them back on their feet.
Although I am probably the only minister who has been dipped in the River Jordan, I would not claim to be a messiah. But I can tell you that I'm an anointed man as I sit here, because I was baptized in the River Jordan. So I'm a very happy man. But I will not claim to be a Messiah. You see, leadership is about creating a team. And I'm a team player, in case you don't know. And whatever you are seeing here, is that it's just because I'm the one who is I'm the flagship, if I have to use the word. I'm the flagship. Otherwise, we are working as a team. That's why I called the university management, the university interim committee, to sit down and say, well, although the horses have bolted, I mean, they have left the stable, and we cannot bolt the stable. Let's sit down and look whether we can sweep the stable and bring the horses back. That's when I called them to discuss these conditions. And I've told them, a passing mark is not 100%. If we will see, that's what we discussed, if we will see the seriousness of addressing these problems by the universities, we shall reopen. But the universities must demonstrate to us that they are serious and they understand.
How do they demonstrate when they're really crumbling under a heavy debt burden? Part of the money is owed by government, which is not paying to the universities.
Well, I can tell you that the corporate universities are almost ready. And they are getting from the same pot as the University of Zambia.
Is there anything you're doing to help the universities dismantle the debt?
Yes. Proposals have been made. One of them was for the University of Zambia was to borrow some money from the banks. And then we are encouraging to go into a triple P.
If one is sitting and asking your minister, when do we hope to really see a true change at these universities?
Once these 5 conditions are attended to.
How can you push the whole blame on the students?
You will see change. You will see change once these are made.
Change in discipline?
Yes.
The way discipline matters are handled for the students?
Yes. I've read
and then in the way the institutions are run in terms of providing better facilities?
I've read for you, number 2, for ensure that all students are made to sign a commitment form to pledge not to indulge in violence protests. So that student who signed this form and he finds himself involved, he should know very well that that will be the end of his academic study at the university. Ensure that the Office of the Dean of Students designs programs aimed at instilling discipline in students by sensitizing them socially on social dialogue, on non-violent engagement and other dispute resolution process.
That should be done.
So
it should be done for the students. But what is government giving?
That I don't know how to read. They can see that I'm reading.
What is government doing on your part?
Eh?
What are you doing on your part as government? You really need to improve and raise the standards of these universities.
Yes, and this is what we have done.
This is for the students?
No, for the universities, not for students. For the universities.
Targeted at the students?
No. My interest myself is to make sure that the universities create a learning atmosphere. That's my interest. We want to see academic life there.
When you are not releasing money to them?
I've told you, Grevazio, the government will pay. Once a government makes a pledge, it will pay. You know, you don't have to worry. Once we agree that we will pay. All you need to do is to be patient. We will pay. And I can tell you, the students, even when they were rioting, the money was already in the pipeline.
You failed to communicate?
It's not me who should communicate.
You're probably the ones, you were one of the people that knew that the money was in the pipeline.
You see, those who are not logical, those who are not rational in the thinking, they want to heap the blame on the minister. They are failing to understand what is the cause of in the whole thing. Who have caused this problem? It's not me. And for us to have come to what we are discussing today, it's because there was somebody who caused the spike. And once the fire was lit, it started burning. And now the minister is saying, okay, since we have salvaged, this is the way we should now come together as civilized people to again look after our institution. And instead of being congratulated, I'm being blamed. If you look at the conditions, all that I'm trying to do is to help the institutions, which the University of Zambia and the corporate university, to be in an environment that will provide the necessary study and academic life.
So after all these cameras have been put up, the fences have been put up, then now you can move in as government and try to address the other side of the story, where lecturers are not well paid, where lecturers and the staff establishment for lecturers is not enough. You will move in as government to address those issues.
What I want you to understand, Grevazio, is that we have unlocked the higher education sector. There are now new private universities who have come in, and they seem to be doing very well. Even the public universities like Mulungushi, Mukuba, who are not getting any much allowance from us, are thriving. These universities are called public universities because of the infrastructure that we, as government, we have built. That does not stop them engaging in business. They have enough infrastructure for them to engage in business and be self-sustaining, like the private universities are doing. So you cannot heap everything on an old model that we used a long time ago of funding and funding and funding. We have asked our investors, please make an effort to be self-sustaining. So you cannot talk to us, Grevazio, and say, when are you funding? When are you funding? There should also be a question, when will this strive to be self-sustaining?
Strive to fund themselves. Yeah. Dr. Kaingu, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Grevazio.
You've been watching Sunday Interview, and our guest this evening was Dr. Micheal Kaingu, who is the Minister for Higher Education, looking at the issues of the two public universities, CBU and the University of Zambia. Till next week at the same time, pleasant viewing.